Hello, I'm Rob. Thanks very much for checking out R&B Reviews. I decided to do a special video on some news that I had just heard on the internet. Now, granted, this is more about television than movies, but I decided to go ahead and share my opinion on it anyway. Yesterday I was scrolling through the internet, and then all of a sudden I came across this news that on a message board for a completely different show, it was Doctor Who, someone's like, you know, the old 1966 Batman TV show is finally coming to DVD, and it was announced on the Conan O'Brien show, and I was like, what? So I clicked on the link, and there was a picture of Conan O'Brien, talk show host, inside a copy of the old Batmobile, and I did some clicking around, and then I see there were some other sources that said it was going to be, the old Batman TV show would be coming out on DVD in 2014, and no one really had an official link from like Warner Brothers, because I know I was a little bit cautious about jumping for joy, even though I would be happy if the old show was on TV, from the TV show was on DVD, because over the years people have said, it's going to be coming out on DVD, and then it turned out to be just rumors, and it wasn't really true. So I've always been a little bit more cautious, and I'm not jumping out of my seat yet until I see like a DVD cover or what have you, or something like that. Maybe I'll wait till then, but I definitely have my ears perked on this. So what are my thoughts on it? I'd say it's about damn time. I mean, I know there was all kinds of legal issues, like supposedly one of the legal issues was, when the show was made, it was made at the studios over at 20th Century Fox, who also made the movie, 1966 movie, and then of course later Warner Brothers started, getting involved in the Batman movies, and now it's a Warner Brothers property. And that was one thing. Another thing was, I guess, contractual issues, because I guess when a lot of the actors signed the original contracts, there was no home movie market at that time, except, of course, Super 8 film, but you wouldn't put a TV show on Super 8 film. So the contracts just stated that they could show the shows just for television, and of course, later when the home movie market became available, the studios kind of had to negotiate with a lot of actors for royalties and the rights and all that other stuff, and I think that was another thing that involved, because I think especially with a lot of the bat climbs, where Batman and Robin are climbing up the building and guest actors pop out. So I guess those contracts were handled a little bit differently. Like some of them were just walk-ons and they were uncredited and they weren't listed in the ending credits and stuff like that. So that was another legal issue. So the last couple of years, I've seen there has been some merchandise featuring some likeness of some of the villains from the old TV show, as well as, Batman. Like I've seen Frank Gorshin's Riddler on glass tumblers and as action figures and stuff. So I thought, okay. I mean, they did make an announcement that they managed to make an agreement with the estates of a lot of the actors, or the actors themselves, if they're still around, letting them use the likeness on merchandise and so forth. So I'm excited if it really happens, because I really do. This was the first Batman that I had ever seen as a kid when I was growing up. They showed this TV show in syndication. I mean, I did kind of treat it a little bit more seriously than I do now. Like I remember when I rewatched it a couple decades ago when the Sci-Fi Channel was airing them on a marathon. I'm like, whoa, this is different than how it was. But the show itself is kind of interesting. Now, there's some controversy with the show. There's a lot of people that have grown up with the Tim Burton Batman movies and the animated series, and even these Christopher Nolan complain about this one that's like, he's not dark enough and all this other stuff. Well, the thing is, I think a lot of people forget is that when the TV show was on, they were based on the comic books of the period. Like, I've got a bunch of them now from the 50s and 60s, like this one with the penguin called the Penguin's Plunder, and I have this one that features comics from, like, I think it's like 64, and look at these comic books. They're actually, this is like the 66 TV show where, the villain's plots to get rid of Batman are a little bit more over the top and all that stuff. So they're like, oh, Batman's not dark enough. The villains don't have a twisted background and all this other stuff. Well, I mean, the thing is, every decade when you get new writers and new people to draw the comic books, the show does go, the comic book does go through a period of changes. So, I mean, everybody changes the characters every so often, and, they'll make some differences. So back then, the Batman that we know now wasn't really dark like it is now. So if for those of you that are complaining that the old TV show is just too campy and it should have been dark like it is now, well, go find the comic books from the 50s and 60s, the Silver Age, I believe they're called, Yeah, Silver Age. And it even says on the back of this book, I don't know if you can tell, it says the stories that inspired the TV series. So, yeah. So overall, I'm going to keep my eye out for it. I hope it happens, because Batman, the only way you can see the Batman show now is if you buy a bootleg DVD from somewhere, or in my area, they do run it in syndication on a local TV network. You know, some people will probably still watch them on YouTube, but I mean, Batman's a gold mine, and I'm glad they finally, hopefully they finally stepped up on it. So I'm happy to see it. I mean, another thing about the TV show is people complain about not dark enough. The first season arguably was a little bit more serious, and I think the stories were a little bit better. I think it kind of got a little bit more funnier, a little bit more campier, as they call it, as the show went on, like from the second season on, and the third season was just bad. So, I mean, like I said in my review for the 1966 movie, the first season I think was the best. It took the show a little bit more seriously, and then it just kind of lost itself a little bit. And of course, I would argue that the villains on the TV show are better than some of the movie versions. Maybe not quite as good as the cartoon Batman the Animated Series, but I mean, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin and Frank Gorshin to me is still the best Riddler. Cesar Romero, he's a good Joker, but I mean, we've had a lot of Jokers and they are all different. But I really liked the old show, even though, granted, it's a little bit campy and sometimes it can be a little bit silly, but I thought it was a fun show. Alright, that's my view on the news that Batman the TV show might be coming to DVD, and if you guys want to post your thoughts about it, go right ahead. Thanks for watching.